Welcome to Guide Mia. Today we're going to talk about turning a two-dimensional picture into a three-dimensional mesh in Cympha Studio, reconstructing a real 3D face from a single portrait photo. This one is for clinicians, case reviewers, and designers who have one front-facing photo of the patient and want it in the scene as actual geometry, either stand-alone or registered to the patient's CBCT so face and bone share one coordinate frame. By the end you'll know which studio action does this, when to take the CBCT-aligned path versus the photo-only path, what the on-screen sliders control, and how the result lands alongside the rest of the case. A few minutes is all it takes. Follow along in Studio, or listen now and read the guide later. Set the expectation first, because the name invites bigger dreams. Studio's 2D to 3D action is a face reconstruction. It estimates a three-dimensional face mesh from one portrait photo, using AI that runs on your device, facial landmarks for the face mode, monocular depth for the head mode. Three things it is not. It's not a generic image-to-mesh tool for arbitrary objects, it only knows faces. It's not a way to turn a lateral cephalometric X-ray into 3D. For X-ray work, Studio has cephalometric tracing, which traces landmarks on the image but generates no mesh. And it's distinct from importing a facial scan captured by a dedicated 3D scanner. That's its own workflow, with its own guide. What it gives you is remarkable enough on its own terms. A patient's face is real geometry, from a photo any phone can take. The inputs are light. You need a single front-facing portrait photo of the patient, PNG, JPG, or WEBP. Most of the face should be visible, the eyes roughly level, and the mouth either closed or in a natural smile. A photo cropped tightly to the head works fine. Studio recrops internally for the AI step, so don't fuss over framing. Have Studio open at studio.cympha.com. And then the one decision that shapes everything downstream. If you want the reconstructed face registered against bone, load the patient's CBCT into the scene first, before you start. Whether a CBCT is present at the moment you launch the tool is exactly what decides which of the two paths Studio takes, so the order of operations here isn't a nicety, it's the switch. This is the destination. The patient's face is a mesh, sitting in the same scene, and, on the CBCT path, in the same coordinate frame as the skeletal anatomy. That's what makes this more than a visual gimmick. A face that's registered to bone lets you review soft tissue and hard tissue together, discuss aesthetics with the patient over the actual case data, and hand a designer a scene that already carries the patient's real proportions. And because reconstruction runs on your device in the browser, the photo doesn't need to make a round trip anywhere. You pick the file, Studio computes, and the mesh appears in the scene like any other model. Two paths get you here. Let's take the simpler one first. Path A, no CBCT in the scene. In the left Tools dock, the Facial Scan toolbox, click Face from Picture and pick the portrait. With an empty scene, the same action sits under the welcome card. Studio shows the photo as a billboard with a panel titled 3D Face Reconstruction, and you pick a mode. Face builds a tight mesh of the face only, from facial landmarks detected on the device, no large download, fast and clean for smile design and share side work. Head builds a larger mesh including hair, ears, and neck from monocular depth. The first run fetches a one-time model download, cached by the browser after that. Then the sliders, brightness and contrast retone the photo, resolution sets triangle density, rerunning on release, and nose depth only on this path, pushes the nose in or out, without a CBCT to lock metric depth. Nose projection is the most variable dimension. And Facebox, when it's shown, expands the cropped region the AI actually sees. Reach for it if the reconstruction seems to be missing the edges of the face. When the profile looks right, done keeps the mesh, cancel discards it. Path B, a CBCT is already loaded when you click Face from Picture. Studio inserts two extra steps so the face lands in the volume's coordinate frame. First, CBCT alignment. Drag the HU threshold slider until the skin surface is visible in the 3D view, head and portrait orientation, then click Use DICOM to detect landmarks on the volume and align to them. Skip falls back to the photo-only pipeline, cancel aborts. Second, landmark verification. Photo over the CBCT, click face detection, then verify the landmarks sit where they should. Opacity fades between photo and volume, and Facebox, when shown, expands the region considered. Okay when they look right. Third, the same reconstruction panel, face or head, resolution, minus nose depth, because the CBCT now anchors the depth scale. Click Done, and the face arrives already aligned with the CBCT and the intraoral scans. There is no separate registration step, the alignment was the work you just did. Once created, the reconstructed face is just a mesh, a regular entry in the model browser, alongside the intraoral scans, the CBCT, and any implant plans. Everything you can do to other models applies: hide and show it, recolor it, remove it. The orthographic camera presets, front, patient right, patient left, give you repeatable screenshots from standard angles, which is exactly what you want for before and after communication. The camera workflow has its own guide. Save the whole scene with Save Project from the hamburger menu, and the face travels inside the CYP project file with the rest of the case. And the camera icon on the top toolbar captures the current view into the media gallery, next to the case's other pictures. For assembling the full virtual patient, CBCT plus facial reconstruction plus dental scans in one coherent scene, the virtual patient guide in this series takes it from here. The 4 things that go wrong, and their fixes. No face detected in photo. The head is rotated too far from the camera, the face is too small in the frame, or the photo is heavily filtered. Cancel, recrop, or replace the photo. Try again. Head mode very slow on the first run, that's the one-time model download, per browser, cached locally after the first reconstruction, quick from then on. The nose looks too flat or too pointy on the photo-only path, expected variability without a CBCT to lock real-world depth, slide nose depth and release, and the reconstruction reruns. The face mesh isn't aligned with your CBCT, you took the photo-only path, the volume was loaded after you started, or you clicked skip in the alignment panel. Make the CBCT visible in the scene and click face from picture again, the alignment panel should appear first. One reminder, a lateral X-ray is not an input here, that's cephalometric tracing, a different tool. That's the feature: one portrait photo in, a face mesh out, standalone in seconds, or bone registered with 2 extra panels when the CBCT is loaded first. Load the volume before you start when alignment matters, reach for nose depth only on the photo-only path, and let the result live in the scene like any other model. It's one of the quickest wins in studio for patient communication. A mesh the patient recognizes as themselves changes the conversation in a way a generic model never does. The full written walkthrough of both paths, every panel name, every slider, is at cympha.com, under Docs, How to Turn a 2D Picture into a 3D Mesh in Cympha Studio. We're covering every Cympha workflow in this lecture series, so subscribe to catch the rest. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.